Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Now, in September 2022, I was lucky enough to board a flight to Vietnam, where I'd be jumping in swamps, climbing up hills, and taking on one of the toughest challenges with an entire group of incredible, crazy, quirky, amazing, and inspiring individuals who I'm lucky enough to call my friends, as we all went over and took part in SAS Who Dares Wins. Now, with any kind of TV production, they are always constrained to fit the absolute best bits into a short window of time. So as you won't be surprised to hear, there is so much more to these individuals than meets the eye. So on this mini series of podcasts, you get to listen in as I catch up with this incredible group of people. We discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly as it comes to SAS Who Dares Wins, our favorite instructors, our biggest challenges, and also learn a little bit more about what drives them, what inspires them, and how this journey was for them. It's been so much fun reminiscing and catching up. So if you are sitting comfortably, let's buckle up for safety and get in there with today's episode. I'll see you on the other side.
Well, there. I'm good.
You're proud as well in the football gear again. You got a game this afternoon, right?
Yes, it's the North London derby, so I'm raring to go. I was trying to get tickets, but then I was just like, it's a proper 2-1. Like, I'm sick of traveling. I'll be at home and watch it.
What was it you were saying when you were over there? You were like, you've never seen them play in where was it you were really hoping to go? Oh, I can't remember now.
The Emirates?
Yes, you were saying that was on your big hit list. That was on your bucket list.
Yeah, so like I would have loved to have gone today because we're at home playing Tottenham. But look, I've watched them in Newcastle and in Sunderland, but it's just I've never been to the Emirates to see them.
Have you always been big into your football then? Have you always been like a massive home supporter of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I love it. I watched my dad just follow Arsenal when I was younger, so like it's just stuck in my head. So that's why it's not just a team I've randomly picked. It's like I was destined to be his winner.
Yeah, you did. I found like when we were kids, there was a little bit more of people would sway back and forth, and there was less people that had actually had like a grounding in the club that they truly believed in. People were a little bit more fickle, weren't they? But you say your dad was big into it. Did he used to take you to the games then?
No. So I just watched him as I was growing up, watching them and supporting them, and so like that's what I was just stuck with. I was like Arsenal. That's me team. So then since then, I've just been like a massive gunner.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. Family's kind of something I was looking back when I was thinking about coming on and having a chat with you today, because I've spoken to so many different members from the recruits team and stuff. And for you specifically, I was reading back and I remember looking at when your grandma passed. I think it was like, because it was this year, wasn't it? It was in February.
Yeah, it was in Feb, yeah.
Yeah, and when I was speaking to you over there, I don't remember if we saw like a butterfly or we saw something when we were out on one of the events, and you had a big thing about her being with you, and obviously, so for people that don't know, I know we've kind of jumped into it there, but you're like a pro boxer now, you're 5-1. How much has family been a part of this whole kind of journey for you?
Oh, like literally till the death. Like my dad's my biggest fan. My brother's boxed. It's just they never stuck at it. It's like it's a big thing, like the commitment, the weight cut, and things like that. So like they kind of just stopped. It wasn't for them. So the female of the family's had to step up and be the fighter. So like because I've like kind of gone from amateur straight like into pro, and like quite like things have been quite quick progressive wise. So like he's just fully into it. Like my mum as well. Like she doesn't like his fighting sometimes.
Yeah.
Like she's like she doesn't want to see us get hurt. But the support I've got, families, friends, like everyone just backs us, and it's unreal. So like, obviously when I lost my grandma earlier this year, like it was tough because at one point in my life when I went through a little bit of a struggle, she was my mum figure in my life. So, and I'm burying her, and less than 7 days later, I'm in the ring for a fight. So like I had to keep my head in the game.
That's got to be such a hard thing because you've got so many people in your world that kind of I mean you rely on them, but they rely on you as well because you got married in 2017. You've got a 1-year-old baby, and
Yeah,
you're literally on the cusp of not trying to break through, but you've broken through into like this pro athlete thing now. But that also comes with like a massive sense of vulnerability because you've kind of got to go full elbow deep in it now. It's kind of all or nothing, and the whole family has to like fortify behind that. Because being
yeah,
a professional athlete, I spent a lot of time with different athletes. I used to coach a bunch of professional athletes, and there's almost a sense of healthy selfishness that you have to have with it. Like everyone's got to be on board and
yeah.
understand the requirements of what it's like to live a professional athlete. But that's really difficult for some people.
It is like it's just, like even friends, like some people don't understand what you actually have to go through just to get in the ring. They just see the Instagram stories of the training, this
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that, looking in good shape, and it's like that they're like, I don't know how you do all these training sessions. The training isn't the hardest part. Yeah, some sessions get rough, some sessions you've got to dig deep, but the hardest part is continuing not to drink, continuing to say no to going out, make sure that you're in bed early, making sure you're taking the right supplements, the right nutrition. Do you know what I mean? That's the actual hard part. What people don't see, the cutting weight. The cutting weight's probably the biggest thing for being a fighter. It's brutal. Come
and
fight
most of it is
week,
boring shit as well. I mean, like boring, like, but
yeah,
for most people, like they think it's all like they see, like, see the YouTube video and the Instagram thing in the short 30 seconds, but that's 30 seconds of a 2 hour monotonous. But I think most people don't have the mental longevity to
yeah,
compete at that level because most of it is boring shit. You know, I've worked with a couple of
mm,
Olympians as well, and when they do their 4 year cycles, I'm like, fucking hell. I used to compete in stuff that I would do annually, but I couldn't imagine like having to wait 4 years. Like your peak of your training, your macro and your
yeah,
mesocycles is a 4 year cycle. Fucking
mm.
hell. That's just crazy for me. How do you maintain that discipline then? Because have you come to this a little bit later to the game? Because I was scrolling back and stalking your ass and all that sort of stuff. When did you kind of something kind of change gears for you? Because I was looking back at some of the photos and you've done some from and twos. You weren't the sort of, and none of us are, you know, to start with, but you weren't this weapon and disciplined athlete that you stand before us now. When did it kind of shift for you?
I wasn't like I was never into the gym. I'd never done a PT session. I'd never stepped foot in an open gym, so I didn't know what the crack was. Fitness wasn't my thing. And my thing was I love to scrap. I love to have a fight, but at this point, it wasn't boxing. It was on the street, being a little divvy. So,
Okay.
like, one of my friends was like, "Come to the gym, like, you'll love it." She was doing boxing at the time. It was just an amateur gym, and I was like, "I can't. I've got too much. Like, it's a commitment thing." I was
Yeah.
due to get married. I was like, "It's just not the right time." So after I then got married, she got onto us again. I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm unfit. I'm eating like a pig 24/7, and I don't feel great in myself. So if this is something that's going to make us feel a bit better, then let's give it a go."
So
Went to the
give us
fitness
some
session and never
context.
looked
How
back.
old would you have been then? Sorry.
So it was, when did I start? Was it 2018? Yeah, 2018. So what we're in now, 2022. So like 4.5 years ago. So I'm 28 now. So I'll have been 24, 20,
So you said like
23,
before
coming to
that
24.
you were just kind of a scrapper all over the place. What did you do for like work? What was life looking like for Jordan?
I worked for like an assessment company. I was a manager. I'd worked my way up the ladder. I started off as a coordinator and just like worked my way up. So I'd get in the kind of where I wanted to be. But at that point, then I just wasn't happy. Like the environment, the Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. It got to a point where I was bored. I was unhappy.
I love what you said there because you're like, I was getting to where I wanted to be, but I wasn't happy. And how many people like spend a lifetime climbing a ladder to realize they're climbing the wrong fucking ladder? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they
Well, I
get there and
realized that.
they're,
Yeah.
they're working a job to perpetuate a life to pay for shit that's not making them happy.
Exactly what I realized. And at that point, I thought, I see these people around us complain. It was every single day about being in work and being unhappy. And I'm just not one of these people to sit around and be like, yeah, I'm just going to deal with this for the next 20, 30 years. I didn't want that. I could have quite easily continued and worked my way up the ladder even more to a higher senior position. But I was like, nah, this isn't for me. I need a change. And I'm not going to be happy unless I make that change.
How did it get to that point of pain though? Because I always say people don't often move on for something better. They'll move and they'll take a change when things become so painful. Like fitness isn't and weight is an easy one. People don't change usually just because they want to get fitter. It's usually like the relationship breaks down or they hit that 18 stone mark and they're like, fuck, I'm sick of myself. I can't look at myself. I'm ashamed of myself. It's when the pain gets intense enough to make them to move, which is so sad that they don't do it just because they do it when it gets painful enough. So what was it about that lifestyle, that mundanity? Because most people do it and it doesn't make you or me better than anybody else. But I'm the same. Like, I would really struggle in a 9 to 5 thing. And I think that's a detriment in some ways because I don't exist in like mediocre situations very well. I struggle with like going to the same place, or like I don't meet friends at the pubs or stuff. I like to go and do shit. And I think that's a cost sometimes because you do miss out on things like you doing all of your discipline training and stuff like that. Whilst it's incredible, there's also a cost to it. You miss out on other stuff. So why did it become so painful to you when most other people will just go, fucking get over yourself, Jordan. That's life. You know, this is 9 to 5. This is what we all do. But you weren't, most people aren't happy like that.
Which when I then got into the fitness industry, into boxing. So that's when it's like I found a new lease of life, and I thought there's more to life than me sitting at this desk, not getting any active steps in, not getting, do you know what I mean? Like I'm sat at a desk looking at 2 screens, dealing with people all day that I don't want to be around. Like they weren't my type of people, and it's just people that like were constantly mourning, and it puts you in a depressive mindset,
isn't it? Yeah, it's fucking rough.
So I was like, do you know what? There's more to life than this. So whilst I was actually still in work, I'd used some of my annual leave and I'd signed myself on to do a PT course. So I was using the time. It's not one of these crash courses. It was over a 12-month period.
Yeah.
So I just stuck in, did the work, did all the assignments, and I got to the end and got passed. And at that point, I was like, right, I'm in a position now where if I can get myself a job, I can leave here. So I needed that little bit of security. I didn't want to just jump straight into the PT world because I was like, I'm going from a job that's like I was really good paid, had amazing benefits,
that's the
to
thing.
then just going self-employed. And I thought, I can't take that risk. So I've got a part-time job as a lifeguard, went through my lifeguard course, and I thought, this is a bit of me. I'm still in that kind of industry.
So many people do that. I was a lifeguard for like 5 years. When I transitioned from the corporate world and I went to the fire service, I took a $9,000 pay job, and I was a fucking lifeguard. I was a gym instructor. I was a personal trainer and a firefighter just to try and top up that pay. But most people, like you say, won't do that because they'll go, oh, well, shit, I've built this life. I've got a car, I've got a lease, I've got the mortgage, I've got my fella or my missus. And they just, they can't bring themselves to give up the stuff that's not making them happy for the long, like, I'm going to take a step down. Fucking hell, I'm whatever, I'm 30, I'm 26, I'm 24 like you were. I feel like I'm going backwards in life. But you've got to get to that point in the path and go, shit, I made a wrong turn at some point. That's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to stop now, rather than just, it's called investment bias, where you just keep investing in something that you don't enjoy because you've already put 5 years into it. You're like, oh, but I've already done this for so long now, I've got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I was at that stage, and I was just like, I've built my way up from, because when I started there, I was in a position where I was quite low. I didn't really have anything, but then to build yourself up, like, you feel a sense of achievement. But then I realized when I got into the fitness industry, this just isn't for me. This isn't my world. I like to be out and about there. I was getting 35k a year. I went from that to jumping down to 10k, but I was happy to take that risk because it was something I was in. I enjoyed doing it. I realized money wasn't everything. As long as the bills are paid, we've got food on the table, I'm easy. Let's go for it. And it's the risk that paid off in my eyes.
So how much was, because now as an athlete, I mean, you're like speaking to the choir, you know, with you with this, how much, when you said, you know, you were working around people that, and we're not going to say who they were and you didn't hate them or whatever, but they just weren't your type of people. How important is it now to have people around you who are kind of on board, who are the value of association? I mean, what was your partner must have played a big role in that support mechanism then, because so many people as well, they can go home and be like, oh, you know, babe, I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. And they're like, well, you're not fucking giving it up. You're not fucking stopping. We're saving for a house, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. And just because you're not enjoying work today, I don't really give a shit. You know, you must have had a lot of support to be able to do that. Not like just financially, but just like emotionally more than anything.
Oh, emotionally 100%, because I'm also someone that'll let something build up and I'll not speak about it. But it got to the point where, like, I broke down. I actually broke down and I needed help. So, like, we sat down for like hours, days, weeks overall, like just working out, right, what's the best step to do, which route can I go down, and it all worked out. So she was an unbelievable sport. Like, she never once said, no, you can't do this, you've got like so much pay, like you've got big benefits. She was like, no, you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah. And you're still a baby. Do you know what I mean? Even me, like, I'm older than you, but I'm 33 now. And even now, I feel like I'm still a baby. I'm
Yeah,
just fucking halfway there. I'm not even halfway there. The average male lives to fucking 80 something. So I'm still a kid. I'm just learning shit. I'm so glad I've made so many mistakes physically and financially earlier in my life so that now I can look back on those and go, shit, I've still got 20, 30 years to just
yeah.
enjoy myself, to just have a play and really, really get after it. So, when you said about like not being able to go out drinking sometimes and having to stay disciplined, have you had to strategically not cut people out of your life, but like past a certain point, you have to realize that some people just aren't going in the same direction. You're no better than them. You're just going in a different kind of direction. So is your circle changed, or has it become smaller or bigger, or have you just flipped it around completely? Because that psychological aspect of being an athlete is such a powerful part, and it's all about the people you place yourself around, surely.
My circle definitely got smaller to begin with because people couldn't understand the fact that I wanted to stop drinking at the time. Because like 4.5 years ago, it was still a big thing. Now you see a lot more people going sober and not drinking.
Mm.
So like people understand it a bit more. And I actually got the piss taken out of this, but I was like, this is something I really need to do because I was leading myself down a path that I could have quite easily ended up in hospital, or B, ended up behind bars because I was just out of control.
Yeah.
And I was using it as like a coping mechanism to like kind of make myself feel numb.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
now I've built like kind of things up for the boxing. I've got a solid group of people, but it's a group of people that like understand my goals, understand my vision and where I'm going now and what I want to do. Although I lost some people along the way at the beginning, like I've gained people along like as the years have gone on. So it's
I
probably
always think
evened
of it
out a little bit.
like you're on a path. Let's say like we're heading north, and your version of north, you're going with some friends, and they go, "Oh, we've got to Scotland now, so like we've arrived," and you're like, "No, no, I'm still heading north. My goal was the fucking North Pole or something," and you
Yeah.
kind of have to. You don't you're not deserting them. It's just they've got to where they want to be, and you're no better or worse than them, but your journey is longer. So these people just change out. I always say like my youngest is she's 10 now and she's in year 6. She loved year 5, right? Absolutely fucking loved year 5. It was the best year of her life. Loved the teacher, loved the friends. But now she's older and she's got different goals. She's in year 6. And as
Yeah.
simplistic as it sounds, she's got to leave that teacher behind. She's got to change class. She's got to change friends. And when we're young, we kind of get it, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, Pete, that's fucking obvious. Doesn't make sense." But I'm like, no, it's the same in life. Like now you're moving it, or you're like, "Oh, I'm not just an amateur athlete. Now I'm going to be a pro athlete." So that means these few things. Who would like to come with me? You can all come with me, but these are the kind of unwritten rules of how I'm going to kind of do my life now, and I'd love for you to be part of it. But if you don't want to be, that's totally okay as well. But some
Yeah.
people can have that, especially with drinking. It's like some people can get like, were you fucking better than me then, Jordan? Or do you think, you saying what I'm doing is bad for me or something like that? And I haven't drank in like 15 years. So people kind of know that it's just not part of my lifestyle. But some people really struggle because alcohol is one of those weird drugs that we kind of just accept as society, isn't it? We all just kind of bought into it. And it does cause some people some serious. Do your partner still drink?
Yes, but very, very rare. Like you look, if it's like twice a year, like twice this year in like seriousness. She's not a big drinker. She could honestly have one, and like she's mortal. So it's quite a cheap night if I'm honest. But in the events that she has been out drinking, I actually haven't been involved in it this year. So like
Yeah.
I take myself away from it because I don't like A, what it did to me, and B, what it does to other people. Because obviously now I'm sober, I see, and I'm like, I just don't like it. I don't agree with it. I don't preach. I
No.
don't say you should do it, you shouldn't do it. Crack on. I just choose to take myself out of that picture because I just don't like it.
No, and when people say to me, well, why don't you drink? I always try and flip it round, just as like, no, don't get emotional, but like an open-ended conversation around like, well, why do you drink? And people will use words like, it helps me release, or it helps me de-stress, or it helps me unplug. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at that. It helps you unplug. Unplug from what? If you are living a life that you need to distort with a chemical, or you need to unplug from, and maybe that fucking life is not something that you really enjoy, and
Yeah.
maybe you maybe want to have a look at that, and but that can be quite harsh for people. So what made you want to come on the show and do something like this? Because it sounds like your life is busy enough as it is.
Do you know what? Like, at this point in my life, I'm actually at a really good place. Yeah, I've been through shit, I've been through struggles, but the biggest thing for me is like, A, probably is control, and B, like emotion wise, because I never dealt with the shit from my past and my feelings. I kind of just everything was brushed under the carpet. That then comes out later in life. So like in certain situations, the simplest thing, like the smallest thing could happen, and I'll still brush like under, and then it'll build up and build up and build up until I either want to explode or like get emotional, but I don't get emotional. I don't cry because in my head I see myself as someone that's weak. Although I know that's not the case. I give the best advice to someone else when I'm on my shoulder. You've got me full shoulder. If you want to have a cry, I'm there. But when it comes to me, I don't know. There's just something that drilled in my head that's like you weak. But I know that's not the case. So I
Are
just
all your
wanted to
siblings brothers?
two brothers, one sister. But my sister,
Yeah.
like there's a 13-year gap, so she's a lot younger than me.
Okay, because I'm interested to think like when did that first start where you felt like if I express emotion I'm weak, because that will have been put into your blueprint at some point, and that's not against your parents or your friends, but it will have come from somewhere where you feel like if I just look after other people instead of myself, I haven't got to deal with my own shit.
Yeah, that I think it has just been from like a young age. Like I've always been quite grown up for my age because of the background that I've kind of come from, and that background is just like you just kind of don't talk about your emotions. You just get on with it.
And how was that working out for you?
Well, that's why I wanted to come on the show and like just break myself down. And do you know what? The first 3 4 days, I was still quite guarded. Even when I had my first interrogation, I still had to literally force some information out of us, and I still didn't say kind of what I wanted to say looking back. But then after that, it's like something just hit us, and I was like, do you know what? Like, I'm gonna just allow myself to be a bit more vulnerable. If someone's gonna ask someone about my life, I'm gonna be honest
Hmm.
because I kind of keep myself quite closed off. Like Amy knows everything, but she's the only one that does.
When you say make yourself, because it's a strange thing. Like if we called it honesty, then
Mm-hmm.
not talking about it would make you a liar. No, you're not a liar, of course. But when we call it vulnerability, it almost has an implication that if I share it, I could be at threat. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the words that we use. If I said, Jordan, I want you to just be 100% honest with me, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe the outcome might be different than if I said, Jordan, I want you to be vulnerable. And you were like, well, shit, why? What are you going to do with the information? You're going to make me look like a dick? You're
Yeah.
going to embarrass me? You're going to, what's going to happen here?
That's
So
my that's my like thinking process. Like I think of myself of if I open up, I'm then vulnerable to you, and like you could then potentially hurt us.
you've got power over me in some
Yeah.
way. Okay,
So I'm like, if I just keep
let's
myself
play a
guarded,
vulnerability
like
game. Ask me
let's go.
anything you want about me, and then I'll go for you next. Anything at all, anything, something weird, strange, horrific, personal, whatever you want.
Um, what was your purpose behind what you wanted to achieve out the show?
Okay, so the purposes for me, when I was super young, got bullied loads because I was super competitive and nobody liked that. So I started doing a bunch of sports nationally and was really, really good at sport, and then went down a rabbit hole of people saying I was really strong, ended up taking masses of steroids, built a big muscular shield around me, basically, to protect me from anybody that would ever want to bully me again. And I'd had this image of masculinity and men and what makes you a good person, of this physical Adonis who is this big, strong person and worked in the emergency services, was a military or police or something like this. So I was trying to build that. And then it was only after I actually got into the emergency services when I saw people that I did think were really good people and were really good men and women that it got fuck all to do with how they looked or how much they could lift or any of
Yeah.
that sort of craziness. It was the million small decisions. And I basically feel like I'd built myself up to be a fake and had never dealt with the fact that I was petrified of just being honest with people. So the purpose of the shows coming on with me was to put myself around people like you, like the DS, like so many of the other incredible recruits there who I sincerely believed had a strong moral compass and who were good people, because I had tried to build something fake through taking performance enhancing drugs in my early 20s, and it cost me injuries and cost me relationships and cost me friendships and cost me issues with my body, fucking erectile dysfunctions and all this kind of crazy shit that nobody ever
Yeah.
talks about when you start taking all these crazy drugs. And for me, it was an opportunity to reset and continue to fall in love with what it was actually like to be a good person, and if I even was a good person. So that's the long ass answer for me. But again, I was petrified to tell people that I'd taken drugs, or that
Yeah.
or that I'd been bullied, or that me and my partner had miscarried, and I blamed myself, and if it was a problem because I'd taken steroids when I was a kid, and all that kind of shit that you'd never tell anybody because you just want to appear like this big, strong guy who's got all his shit
Yeah.
together. So that was kind of the reason for me. What was it for you?
Respect for being honest. And for me, it was the vulnerability side and letting go of control, because like my life is hectic. I'm 100 mile an hour 24/7. And like it got to a point at the back end of last year where I'd crashed and burned, but I'd unfortunately crashed and burned prior to going into the ring, and I lost. I lost the fight because there was too much going on. Never used it as an excuse. Never once said. I just took it on the chin. It is what it is. Move on. I've tried to get the rematch 3 times. She's declined. So it's like I can't even correct that wrongdoing for that period. But look, it is
You
what it is.
can, but the problem is you have placed that person in a position of control because you think to overcome that is I need to beat that person. And if you give that person that level of control, you know, it's got to be an inside job. Only you can forgive you. Beating that person isn't going to be you forgiving you, because the error wasn't losing. The error, by the sounds of it, was allowing yourself to go 1,000 miles an hour and losing sense of self-control and getting burnout.
Well, looking back, I was being a bit greedy because I'd just had my first fight the back end of last year, and there was an opportunity to fight again, like in a short period of time. But I knew the baby was due. So at this point, the baby was like 2.5 weeks prior to going into the ring. Well, I totally underestimated parenthood. Like it was brutal. The lack of sleep was absolutely crazy. And I didn't want to take myself away because I didn't want to like be selfish and like put it all onto Amy, because that's not like what we're about. So it was a bit of everything, lack of nutrition, lack of sleep, lack of just everything. And to be honest, although it was hard to deal with at the time, looking back, it's probably one of the best things that could have happened, because it made us make the changes I needed to have the year I've had this year. I've gone in the process being ranked #1, and I want to keep that position in the UK. So do you know what I mean? Like I've got a nutritionist on board now. I'm eating the right things and putting the right things into my body, what I wasn't doing before. So
it's like when you go to sleep at night and you kind of have full accountability on yourself, where you're like, no, I am trying my hardest. And then quietly, as you sort of close your eyes, you're like, yeah, but are you, Jordan? Because you haven't done this, and actually you're not doing that. And you know, we can give other people our own bullshit all we like, and we can lie and all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying that's what you did, but then when you're standing in second place and someone stood in first place, you can very quickly identify the bits where you're like, but you didn't fucking do that, did you? And you said I was always going to get 8 hours sleep, and you fucking didn't. And you said you were going to do this, and you fucking didn't. And you kind of go, you need to get over your own shit and say, no one's going to fucking do this for me. I need to swallow that humility and be the professional that I say I want to be. And that is going to mean carving all that, trimming all the fat, getting rid of the bullshit out of my life. And sometimes that's people, sometimes that's processes, sometimes it's environments, sometimes it's habits. Do you know what I mean? And that's fucking hard. It's a narrow gap to push yourself through.
And that's the changes I made. And like, that's why this year I've gotten in the position I have. I've had 4 fights, which is not very known for like a professional athlete. Like as a fighter, you're lucky if you have 2 fights a year. I've had 4. I'm on my 5th come December. So like, and I've had 4 good wins against some girls where they've been 50-50 fights. I knocked my last opponent out. Like, so like, I feel
I saw that
I've
one.
got everything
was that,
in the,
was that Beck?
Yeah, Beck Conley.
That was fucking savage. That 5th round, just fucking absolute onslaught, was fucking dangerous.
Well, I was just easing into it, you know, like I just wanted to show people my skill, and then I was like, right, now's the time to up it. It's time to up it. But just like the biggest thing for what I do is the nutrition. As soon as I got the nutritionist on board this year and I was eating the right things, I feel like a completely different person, because it's like someone said to us, and it always like thingies in my brain, you wouldn't let your car run on empty, so why let your body do the same? And it's true. Garbage
in, garbage out. So many people treat their, I mean, you've got pets, haven't you? You've got a dog, haven't you?
2 dogs, yeah.
You've got 2 dogs, yeah. And you know what? I used to work for a massive pet food company, and even in times of like social deprivation or the economy was in the floor and stuff like that, people would never switch their dog food. They wouldn't. There's a dog in the background. They would never switch what they were doing. And I always say to people, you know, you want the very best out of your body. If you treated yourself like a racehorse, you'd be like, well, it needs to eat this certain amount, it needs to rest this certain amount, and you wouldn't fuck about. But it's garbage in, garbage out. And if you were your body, you can imagine your body saying, right, so you're expecting me to do 5 professional fights a year. You want to train twice a day, 6 days a week. Okay, yeah, great, I understand all that. So what fuel are you going to give me to do this? And you just throw a lump of fucking shit at it and go, right, give me some results. Your body would be well within its rights to be like, fuck am I supposed to do with this, Jordan? What's this shit? Do you know what I mean? So zoom us in on what did the nutrition look like when it changed for you? What did good nutrition look like now?
completely different. The problem I wasn't probably eating the right things as well, but I wasn't eating enough to fuel my body. So that's why I felt so weak and
Yeah.
like just didn't have enough energy. So like the nutritionist did a load of tests to begin with. So I knew what I needed to be on when I was like total rest. So then
Mhm.
he worked it out from then. But like it's not just one set thing every day. I've got like low, medium, and high day depending on what my training load is.
Okay.
So it's really good. Like even on a low day, for example, on a Saturday is my rest day. It's actually my favorite day of the week, although it's the lowest calories because it's got all my favorite stuff in. It's got my fillet steak. It's got the full tub of Halo ice cream. It's got my salted caramel grenade bar. Like it's got all the good foods, and that's why he does it the way he does. So like you're not then. Honestly, when I'm in camp, I very rarely crave anything because I'm already getting the stuff within my diet that I wouldn't like normally crave.
I love
So
that.
it's just so good the way he does it. Like even the supplements, like the shakes I have after I've cut weight, um, like just that one shake I put in my body because of all the things it's got in. It's like I changed from like being death to just being alive and wanting to.
Mhm. How much of the detail do you know about that? Because I'd love to know what, because obviously now you're at a pro level, you know, people are fucking get super, super worried about people trying to put stuff in their shakes, and you've got to be so careful what you drink and what you take. And, you know, you want to make sure you never get pinged for anything that you're not supposed to be having. So
Mhm.
what are the safe things if anybody was looking to kind of practice what you preach and try and onboard a little bit of that? What are the kind of safe products that you're encouraged to take or that you take on a regular basis?
You can like proteins, creatine. I can't even remember the name of some of the shakes that I put in, like as me refuel. But the main two that I would take is creatine and
Mm.
protein. But you've got to be even careful with that because it's got to have the
Yeah.
tick. It's got to be fully approved. If it's not, then
Yeah, some
it
of the
can show on it.
creatines these days, when people are looking for that marginal gain, and to be fair to them, half the athletes that take it don't even know because there's that many fucking cowboys just punching out products from the garage these days.
Yeah,
Have you got a sponsor? Have you got a partner from supplementation?
and not for supplements. No.
Well, you are going to have one after this, I guarantee. After the whole thing, you need to get one of them on board
Yeah.
because you seem like, well, you're already where you need to be now anyway. But you know, somebody could get you for an absolute bargain now, getting in whilst you're on this sort of climb. I wanted to ask you about that self-awareness of burnout because you obviously say you've got a lot better at being conscious about not burning out, and then you go and take on something like this.
I know. I'm
And now
crazy.
and
I'm a
no, but
psycho.
like, and then you've got, I know you didn't know about the fight in December before you kind of came out of this whole experience, but wherever we've got kind of a 6-7 week run up to this next one,
Yeah.
how's your body feeling, and how was, let's get into the experience. How was the whole thing for you? How's your body?
Unbelievable to be fair. Like I have got a couple of injuries. I got obviously I was absolutely gutted to get medically withdrawn with 24 hours to go. But look, I respect the doctor's decision because my shoulder's a serious thing.
Hmm.
Like he knows I'm a fighter, so I get why he did it.
I mean, we're not going to release
Um
this until after the episodes come out, so feel free to just go into detail about what happened with the shoulder.
there was a wrestling challenge in the morning. They
Yeah.
put me with Josh, the other professional fighter. Now I know I was paired up. I think it was to test me head to see if I'd lose me shit because everyone else was getting to pick their opponent, but they'd already pre-picked us two together. So it was on like the big wooden raft thing in the open water, and you basically had to just charge at them like a bull and get them off. Well,
Yeah.
the first time he charged at us, but I held onto him, so I got him in the water as well. So we had to go again. And the second time he just went like full throttle, like bull vibes into us, and I just took us clean out. And I landed on my shoulder as I was falling. So straight away I felt the pain and I couldn't like move it properly as I was swimming back to the side. So like Billy was just like shake it off, which I was. It was fine, but then I had to go and see the doctor, and he wanted to send us for an X-ray basically. Luckily there was no breaks. It's just a damaged tendon.
Well, tendons can be an absolute fucker. What was it? Was it rear delt? Is it rotator cuff? Was it?
The right at the top, whatever. I can't remember. The physio
So
told us the
you've got
other.
your traps, you've got your trapezius that run straight into the top of your shoulder, and then you've got all your delts that run around the side. It's whether can you do internal rotation?
So the rotation was the problem to begin with because I
Yeah, it's
could feel it
probably rotator
grinding.
cuff then. Yeah.
So it's not too bad at the minute because I've rested this week, but it was the rotation. I could feel it grinding straight away. So that's why I was like, we'll go and send you for an X-ray. But
That's annoying.
I went and seen the physio the other day. I've got one more session before I go back on Monday. and he did shockwave therapy.
Mhm.
That was fucking painful.
I've had it
Really,
before, yeah.
really painful. But do you know what? Like, it is what it is. It's if it's going to make it better, then it's going to make it better. Because
Yeah.
I'm back in camp on Monday. I'm back to punching, and obviously with the rotation of the punch, like I take the impact on the shoulder when I'm hitting the pads and bags. So I just want to make sure it's 100% right because I don't want to go in the ring in December 50%. I want to be 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. But and again, obviously, your coaches are fucking they know what they're doing. They'll all do that. But from my limited interpretation, like when you get into camp now, will it be more about conditioning and patterns and stuff like that? Because you won't try and go full bore at the beginning of the camp, or will you?
Oh yeah.
Or will
No,
you?
no. So well, I say that yeah, I like to go full throttle all the time, but me coach will eases into it 100%. The first week I'll just be kind of getting back in the swing of things because I haven't punched or been in the gym for like what, nearly a month.
Yeah.
So it'll be a case of easing in next week, and then probably the week after is when the sparring and that'll start. So that's when obviously I'm gonna feel it.
So going into the course, how did you find it when you found out it was Vietnam? The first couple of days there, meeting a bunch of strangers, the climate.
Brutal. I'm not gonna lie. Like that first day was like a kick up the arse. I was like, wow, that was a beasting. And then like obviously it's a shock to the system, the
Yeah.
heat, the humidity. So I was like, what the fuck? But like you ease yourself into it, and like the biggest thing for me was like kind of control, not knowing what's next because I'm so regimented. Like I know me set training schedule. Like I've got me set training schedule. I've got me gaps when I'll go for me sports massages, when I can go for like a yoga session, swim, this that, and the other. Like everything's factored out, everything's to the T. So like not having control of that was difficult to begin with. But then I was just like,
A
let go of
lot
the
of people
control
struggle
and you
with that.
relax.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Amelia especially, she just felt like she's adrenaline dump every 5 minutes because she didn't know what was happening next, and it was just
yeah.
so overwhelming for her. How did that change? Did it change at all going through it, or did you just learn to let go a little bit, or
Just
how did you get
learn
on
to
with it?
let go.
Learn to
Just
let go.
totally had to let go. Yeah, because I was just like, I'm still not going to know what's next until the end of the course. So
Yeah.
let go of the control and you relax a little bit more because that was mentally and physically draining.
Mm,
So like to then have that pressure and not knowing what's next, I was like, I don't need to exert that energy.
yeah.
Keep it for the tasks.
So going into the tasks, obviously the first couple of days we had a couple of swims, we had some beastings, and then we did some stuff up high. Then we did some waterfall stuff. What were some of the ones that kind of stood out for you?
The waterfall one was testing. I mean, even just that little bit going up to the top, like I class myself as someone that's fit, but I struggle with that because of the heat and the humidity. Like
Yeah,
this is next level. It's like it takes your breath away.
yeah.
Um,
It's
but when you get
exactly
to the
what we do
top,
with the fire service training. Like you say, most people are fit in like a gym when they've got their
mm-hmm,
lycra on or whatever and the air cons on and stuff like that. But as soon as you crank up the heat or humidity or you put a bit of weight on somebody, it's a whole nother fucking game.
different gravy, and like I don't even think like even just explaining it to people doesn't do it justice
No.
in that moment. But the most rewarding part is when you get to the top and you're like, I'm gonna go down this waterfall. Like that, it was unreal.
It was pretty fucking incredible. It's the sort of stuff you see on a calendar or like on the screensaver on your bloody laptop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like fucking hell. That thing is just stunning.
amount of money could buy the experience what we've just been through.
That's what I found. Yeah, I found most intense about it. How did you get on with all of the team? Because I found like as time went on, sometimes there was little cliques, or there was like people that bonded really well. There was maybe one or two members that kind of struggled with the rest of the team. You were
Yeah.
obviously in it for longer than I was. How did you see the whole thing develop with the teams?
Do you know what? I think this series it's probably been the strongest caliber of people that they've ever had on the show.
Hmm.
Don't mean to like correct as if you think I'm wrong, but I do think it was a solid group of 20 people. But as it got on, it did start to get a little bit more tense. People's characters were coming out a little bit more, and obviously everyone's deprived
Hmm.
of things. So like it was starting to maybe grind on some people more than others, but it was still overall an unbelievable experience in terms of like other people as well. You kind of seen with some people their reason kind of for being there.
Hmm.
Like some people just you found weren't team players either. Because I get like
Yeah.
you're there for yourself, but you're also there. It's a lot of the challenges of the teamwork.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't get there by yourself. At the end of the day, a lot of the things that we did relied you to help somebody up, or help somebody down something, or
yeah,
even just have someone else check your back for leeches, or somebody help you with your
yeah,
feet, or help you with your Bergen. So you were always going to need to integrate with the rest of the team, and you can also, if you go about it the right way, you can develop so much strength from that because
hmm
you can go. I always say you can go faster alone, but you can go further together always. And those people that leaned in to the support and sort of forgave each other for when you just accidentally stepped on somebody or you got nudged out of the way, or those bits of realizing we're all human and going, oh shit, I'm sorry for that. No, no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. I didn't see this, I didn't
yeah,
see
yeah.
that. Whereas there were some people who started to get a little bit selfish and a little bit bitter about it, which I think made it harder for them. And ultimately,
Mm,
ultimately for one or two meant they left the course due to, I think, those behaviors,
yeah, yeah.
which is really sad.
It is.
What did you think about the DS?
Do you know what? They were sound. They were funny, like very serious. Billy was just so much respect for them for what they've been through and what they've done. Like this is just a little snippet what we've gone through. So imagine what they've.
Billy is the most highly decorated member of that team anyway. I've always thought why he wasn't the bloody lead DS for so long, because he
Yeah,
also reached the highest rank in there. A lot of
yeah,
them were all great. I mean, they're far better than me and a lot of stuff, but like a lot of them were from the SBS. He's the one that truly has reached the highest rank in the SAS, and he's got so
yeah.
much fucking authenticity, and he just gets it. And it's like you cut him in half, it says SAS down the fucking middle.
He's savage, but he's so good. Like the
Yeah.
full squad is like. I think it's a solid team, and obviously Chris is his first year. I think he did really well.
I
Like,
like Chris. I
and
like
he's
Chris.
from the northeast, so he's my guy.
He
But
fucking isn't he?
he's
Him and Foxy. I think I really like Foxy because I think Foxy as well has probably had the highest emotional intelligence out of a lot of them. If you read his books and stuff, he's had stuff with PTSD and things like that, so he was able to kind of inject that kind of dark humor when it was needed. And
so
I
funny,
thought
yeah.
they had a great balance. It was a great team.
It was unreal, yeah, because everyone had their own little different type like personality. So like they worked together really good as a team. And
Yeah.
like Rudy as well. Absolutely love Rudy.
Oh, he's just straight. He's just straight out of a book, isn't he? Straight out of a fucking
Yeah.
film. I love that guy. And if you look at some of the stuff that he's gone through, I mean, his childhood as well, like foster homes and not having that support matrix around him has built him to be such a resilient motherfucker. And he's a lot older than I think
Yeah.
people think he is. He's just really looked after himself. He looks fantastic.
He's unreal, the shape he's in.
Yeah.
Jesus. Kill for that bod.
So coming out of the show now, you're back home. You've got your little learn. How has it changed your perspective on things, or has it changed your perspective on anything? Having that time away, coming back to Amy and to your baby. She's just turned 1, hasn't she? Or she's
She's
not yet.
won this month.
This month. Wow.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Chapters of life,
But
baby.
totally has changed my perspective. Like perspective, jeez, I haven't said that word right.
Yeah,
Um, like just the small things, like appreciating a normal flushing toilet. Like the little simple things in life, like being able to eat the meal that I want to eat at the time I want to eat, like just the little things, just appreciating life a little bit more,
yeah.
because all that gets stripped away from you in there.
Mm.
And look, coming back, like there's one thing I didn't miss whilst I was in there, and that was my phone. I missed not being able to have a chat with Amy and the baby, knowing that everything was
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I didn't miss my phone in general, because sometimes it can just be so demanding. It's like a task of admin, just trying to catch up with people by the time you finished your day.
Oh,
So
fuck yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's one thing I've actually really struggled with coming back, is the phone, because everyone's like, I've had messages, are you okay? You've gone off the grid of the earth. Like just everyone wanting to be like, obviously from a caring point of view, but it's just
I
a
know,
little
yeah.
bit like, I've gone from no phone for 10 days to like everyone's just boom, 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 boom. So like I've had to like just kind of take a little step back and just reply in my own time.
100%. Look, I switched my notifications off about 6 years ago, so my phone never makes any noise. The only thing it does is ring. Because I always say, because like I think and this is why I enjoy doing podcasting, because I think we're losing the art of conversation. Sending messages and sending emails is a dangerous battlefield sometimes, because misinterpretation and like people think you're being short or you've accidentally offended somebody or something like that. And also it trains people that you're at their beckoning call. Whereas for me, I'm like, if it's really important, somebody will ring me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when I've got time, and sometimes like my WhatsApps and messages and stuff will sat unread for fucking days. It's terrible. But I'm like, if it's that important, somebody will ring me. And it's also, it sounds harsh, but it's like, it's about training people. And I'm no better than anybody, but like we all train each other subconsciously. Like I won't respond to the beckoning call all the time. If you need me, ring me and let's have a conversation, because we can probably solve it between us in like a 30-second conversation rather than 20 messages back and forth.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved being away from technology. I read a book by Tim Ferriss a long time ago, which really helped me. And having those blocks of time in the day, otherwise it's like a black hole. It will swallow everything you want to put into it. You can lose a whole fucking day to your phone and feel like you've achieved absolutely nothing.
That's why I've just like had to take a little step away and just been like, no, I'll like kind of reply in my own time. Like there's loads of WhatsApp groups, like family ones, like obviously the group we've got going on as well. So like obviously everything's been a little bit hectic, but I've just like, right, I'll kind of catch up in my own time rather than trying to be in the moment 24/7.
Just get super savage with that. Go through all your notifications and put them all on mute, and just see what happens every week. You know what? Not a fucking lot. People don't get super upset, and they value your time even more because you're not like responding every 2 fucking minutes.
I was trying to do that prior to going away as well, because obviously things can get a little bit hectic on social media when you put a post on, everyone replying to the story, things like that, and it's constantly pinging. So when I was away on holiday, actually, I'd turn me notifications off then. It was just so much better because then you're not constantly like, it's not constantly pinging coming up. So I'm like, yeah, I can just go on and I can see it when like in my own time.
And also just being at home, you know, when you're with Amy and the baby and stuff like that, people always say to me, oh, I spend loads of time with my partner. And I'm like, yeah, but are you present? Because I don't spend masses of time with my partner or my kids, but when I do, I'm 100% present. Like, I know I'm not as interesting as I think I am. So my kids want an hour or 2 hours of my time, but they want it focused. So my fucking phone is out of the room. It's somewhere else. You know, when I'm with my wife, it's not in the bedroom at night. We've got an old school alarm clock. I don't have my phone to wake me up, because when I'm there with them, you know, and like, try this just as a game, like sit on your bed with Amy and say like, oh, what I want to do for 4 minutes is just try and give me, with your body, with your eye contact, with everything, try and give me 100%. And you guys probably do it already, I know, but like try and give 100% of your attention to somebody. Because most of the time in day-to-day life, you probably feel like you've got 60%, maybe.
Yeah.
Their mind's thinking about later, it's thinking about what happened yesterday, it's thinking about somebody else, they're fucking glancing at their phone, they're glancing at their smartwatch. Do you know what I mean? But what would it be like if I tried to give you 100% of my attention? And honestly, it feels incredible for people when you because we're going through life like a desert, looking for that oasis where someone's going to fucking listen to us or someone's going to give us that attention. And again, that's why I was so keen to have you and members of the team on the podcast, because how often do you really have a really meaningful conversation and felt listened to and felt like you've had an opportunity to be heard and speak? I think that's sadly becoming really rare these days with this fast food exchange we have on social media.
Because there's so many people, like, even it's happened prior to going in, like you're having a conversation with someone, but they're looking down on the phone, replying to someone, or the attention's elsewhere. And it's like, you can't, sometimes you don't get that time. So that's probably one of the biggest things for me coming out as well with the phone thing. And I get it's difficult because of what I do. I've got to put myself out there on social media, even try and get a sponsor. And a lot of what you do is social media focused. Sometimes with the posts you have to put on, but I'm just like, I'm doing it in my time rather than when someone else is kind of demanding it. I'm just I have kind of taken a step away from my phone a little bit, because I just like, even with the messages, I'm like, I'll reply like when I'm ready. It's just a little bit overwhelming at the minute.
100%. Yeah. Just leave them unread.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself half an hour at some point during the day. I do my emails in the morning and I do my social media in the evening, and then I'll put my phone down and go and have tea with my family, stuff like that. And you've got to be so disciplined like that. Otherwise you just get that bleed. It just fucking bleeds into every other area of your life. And you become that person who sat there and you know, Amy will be well within her rights to be like, I'll wait till you finish doing what you're doing. And it might make her sound like a dick, but she'll be like, yeah, but baby, not giving me your attention. I don't want all your time. I just want these 5 minutes. Yeah. So, and they should never have to say that, because you might then, not you, but other people, you might get defensive and be like, I'm fucking, you know what I'm trying to do? I'm busy. I'm doing that. I know you're doing that. But after all that bullshit goes, one day it's us. So please just give me, all I want is 100% of your attention for 5 minutes.
And that's it. Yeah. That's it.
That's all I want.
But it's like, that has been a little bit of when I've come back, even just touching it, I was like, this feels weird. I locked myself out of it because I forgot my password.
Did you?
And I was just, and I was like, locked out for 5 minutes. Then I tried it again. It was locked out for another 5 minutes. I was like, all I want to do is just FaceTime Amy. That's all I'm bothered about. I'm not bothered about anything else. But I got there in the end. Yeah. Even just coming back, I mean, it was a little bit overwhelming just coming back in the real world and being like, shit, this, like, I'm not in the jungle anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a couple of flashback moments. There was like one night, I think it was the first night I went to sleep. Actually, I woke up in a panic and I'm feeling myself like this, thinking I've got the wet clothes on. And I said, "Where's the other recruits?" And Amy's like, "What are you on about? Like, you're home?" And I went, "No, like what?" And I'm panicking. I'm like, oh, "I'm at home. I'm actually at home. What the fuck?"
It's crazy, isn't it? No, you're right, because it's been certain it's designed that way. It's such an immersive experience. You know, I think that's why it's one of the few remaining really good things now, having seen the other side of the coin and sort of seeing the other side of the curtain. I think a lot of things they're like, oh no, the people go to a hotel at the night and when the cameras are off, they go and do this. No, we're fucking there. We're sat there in the fucking dark, don't know what's going on, and then all of a sudden someone just screams at you and it's go time. That is why it's such a pure thing. Look, I've absolutely loved it. I loved the experience. I felt so privileged to be part of it with you all. Obviously, super fucking gutted that my fucking knee exploded. But I always say, for me, it's another character test. You know, can you swallow your pride? Can you be humble and come back from it? We're
Everything
both very
happens for
young.
a reason.
Yeah. Both super young. Is this a full stop or is it a comma? Do you know what I mean? This is just the beginning of something else. So
just a tiny little hurdle for you.
That's it, baby. I really appreciate you being honest, sharing everything about your grandma, your fighting, you know, about Amy, about the baby. I think your vulnerability, which you've said is something you're really trying to focus on, you're clearly making big strides into that. And hopefully you'll continue to be surprised by how much people love and admire and appreciate you the more and more open / honest / maybe vulnerable that you become. So I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much for having us on.
Send my love to the whole family. And this will come out ages away, you know, when the whole thing's out. But hopefully we'll catch up before then.
Definitely. I hope speedy recovery for you. You're a fighter, so keep it up.
You'll see me. Next time you see me, it won't even be like anything's changed.
Yeah.
Right. Love you lots. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Firefighters podcast is put together to develop, inspire, and hopefully even motivate those individuals who have chosen to serve our communities and be part of the first responder family. It's brought to you by myself, operational firefighter Pete Wakefield. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to see the podcast continuing, please head over to our Patreon page where you can support the ongoing efforts of the podcast. Please hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on whatever platform you're listening to. Please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.